and those who could not be with us today. We ask these mercies in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Betty. So I want to welcome you to our meeting this afternoon. It is indeed a pleasure to be all together in one place. Usually when we have meetings of the association, they are conducted on a monthly basis and they're in smaller groups. So this is one of the few opportunities we get to bring ourselves together in one space and to meet and to discuss not only the business of the association, but also how you can take better care of yourself. Without further ado, I will move straight into the adoption of the agenda. And the agenda was as follows: the opening prayer, the president's welcome, adoption of the agenda, apologies for absence, a presentation on foot care, the reports to be delivered this afternoon, any other business, and then we will adjourn the meeting. Are there any objections to us proceeding with this agenda? No objections? Any abstentions from deliberations on the agenda? Okay, then. We will get right into it. I have not received many apologies for absence. Noticeably absent, we have our secretary, Augusta St. Hill. She's indicated that she's unable to join us in person, but she does intend to join us online. Mrs. Muriel Wilson, who is our assistant secretary, she is currently out of the island, and therefore she's indicated that she will be unable to join us. Our public relations officer, Mr. Cedric Murrell, has also indicated that he is unable to join us in person this afternoon, but he will be joining us online. Are there any other apologies that we can formally recognize at this time? Okay. So, as you would appreciate from the direction the association is taking with the introduction of hypertension within our name, as well as our remit, one of the 4 pillars on which the association stands is education. So therefore, this afternoon, as we are all together in one place, we are going to capture that in a very meaningful way. And we have with us Mrs. Simone McConney, who is a podiatrist. She's had a long history with the association. She's had a long history in the field of diabetes and diabetes care. And therefore, I thought that it was critically important for us to have a presentation of this nature. I now invite Mrs. Simone McConney to deliver a presentation to us on foot care. For those of you who are joining us online, don't fear, we have not lost our signal. We're just making sure we get that presentation ready for you. So just hold on a few moments.
Okay, well, there's no mic, so I actually don't even sound. Good evening, everyone. Oh, sorry. I do need to stand here. Good evening, everyone. Yes, I actually am familiar with some of you here in the audience. I have been around the block a little bit. And you can actually start seeing it now because it's like showing up. Love it. Thank you very much for inviting me to share with you this evening. And I look forward, because the group is small, I know I have prepared this presentation. I know some of you are online, but I would like to make it a little bit more interactive because guess what? The message hasn't changed in 30 years. And to me, 99.9% isn't what I say, isn't the dress I'm wearing, isn't my hair that I was talking about. It is you actually being able to go home and put it into practice. Now, I'm going to use COVID as an example. Some of you in here are wearing masks, some of you are not. But in the beginning, when COVID first hit here, we were told there were certain guidelines we had to follow in order not to die, basically. All right. And because it was put over as a life and death situation and we were seeing people falling like flies, we all complained, but we used our masks. We hand sanitized like nothing. Like, some people's skin went raw, people developed allergies, etc. And we actually stayed in our homes. We didn't go anywhere. But why did we follow the rules? Because we didn't want to die. And I guess it was part of the process of following rules. So this is the problem. The problem is there was then a lot of controversy over what to do, what not to do, when to do it. And there are still conspiracy theorists out there, but the reality is there were a certain set of rules and guidelines that billions of people have followed, and as a result are well. So I move on to diabetic foot, and I would say it's not really changed. I have this beautiful sunset, not only because it's a sunset. Sunrise. But because it's always like a new beginning. This is a sunrise. It looks like a sunset, isn't it? But it is a sunrise. Actually, there in Waterford Bottom. Yes. Went on a hike early one morning, and that's what I saw. And I thought, here's the dawning of a new day. So I'm going to say it's the same message, but here's the dawning of a new opportunity to see it in a different way. Trudy. The reality is, just keep going. The reality is these are the real deal. These are the faces of our diabetic feet. And oh, sorry, I should have said, some of these pictures are going to be terrible. I hope they don't make you feel sick. But unfortunately, they are our reality. Okay? And just this, keep going. I think there are a couple more. Just this week, there's a story behind each of these, and I'll be here till next month to tell you each story. But the reality is, this is a snapshot of some of my patients. These are all real life. I didn't pull these off the website. These are patients that I have dealt with. Some I have won, some I have lost. But the reality is, this is the real deal. And all of these people have one thing in common. They're diabetic. And actually now, because of the comorbidities that you tend to get, most of them also had hypertension. And it creates that perfect storm, metabolic syndrome. All right. So some of them can't feel. Some of them, all we're trying to do is keep them mobile, keep them active, keep them alive. Because every single one of you today are fortunate. You've walked in here with, I'm not going to go as far as to say 10 toes, but you walked in with 2 feet. And don't take it for granted. I have a patient story I'll tell you. This is digressing from my slides, but very relevant. This week, 3 weeks ago, he saw me, came in hot and puffy, stressed out because he had a blister on 2 of his toes, 4th and 5th toe. Now, first of all, he's not compliant. He doesn't come on a regular basis, but he does come when he has a problem. He's at work. He's wearing his steel-tip boots at work. He went back to work after being on holiday, and he went home one evening and saw these massive blisters on his toes. I was traveling that same week. I left him under the care of one of my foot care assistants in the office. She would send me updates, and he was doing really well. But then he had this one toe. So the 4th toe healed, but the 5th toe did not do very well. And when I saw him this week, I told him, you need to be on some oral antibiotics to cover you because this is deteriorating. I said to him, what was your blood sugars like this morning? He said to me, oh, I didn't check them this morning, but the last time I checked them, they were about 5.6. I did not check them myself, but I sent him directly. I told him, do not pass go. Do not go to jail. Go straight to your doctor. I sent them a message, sent the doctor a message, etc. Doctor calls me. So I just want to let you know that this young man you have sent me, I have not seen him for the last 5 years. He has sworn to me he takes his medication. And he told me his blood sugars were 5.6. His blood sugars on that day was 19. And I was there killing myself going, why is he deteriorating? Why is his toe not looking any better? But it was because his blood sugars were 19. Is that normal? If your blood sugars are 19 and you don't have any sores on your body or you're well, you get away with murder. But as soon as you have an assault, that blood sugar needs to be normal. If not, he's not going to heal and he will deteriorate. I actually sent him straight to the Diabetes Association when he came back to me. And I said to him, you need to go and get a glucose meter that works. Because he was telling me he was waiting on someone. I told him, I don't even want to hear you. You are going straight from here. And I said, do not come back to my office and expect me to help you if you do not take If you do not go to the Diabetes Association, I told him, and I'm gonna know, 'cause I know people down there, so I can call them. But he called and said, I got my meter. Now, do you really think I have to treat him like a child? No. Why? No, I shouldn't. We are all responsible for our own health. So I don't want him to be a casualty like this. And there are a lot more of these out there. So now I have to be telling him, bring your machine with you when you come. Because I now don't trust him when he tells me his blood sugars are normal. But again, I shouldn't have to do this, right? But his doctor has also taken him under her wing and is also keeping a very tight eye on him. So I shared that story to say, you see how easy it can go wrong, real wrong. And if he wasn't coming to me, he would have ended up in hospital. He would have had an amputation of that fifth toe. Guaranteed. Okay? And he's still at risk. Until his skin heals, he is still at risk. So, moving on. Many people go and they take it very much very casual. It's not a big deal, etc. But when you have an assault to your foot, the day you decide I want not to have an amputation, it could cost up to $50,000. So because you don't have that kind of money, at least I don't, I would want to do everything to prevent having to be in this situation. I show this slide, 10 toes, 2 feet, because the gentleman on your right, where you see $50,000, that's exactly by the time we finished with him, how much money he had spent to get from a nail puncture. That's what it was. So the picture in the middle is his foot. That's a nail puncture that then became a challenge on the side of his foot because it tracked to the lateral side, so by the fifth toe. And you can see I have a swab there going right from the top of his foot right through to the bottom of his foot. He used to laugh and say it's like a fountain when we were cleaning his wound because it went in once at the top and came out at the bottom. But that was him trying to obviously make light of his situation. But the reality is that is his foot here at the bottom now. And he does have 10 toes and he does have 2 feet. Okay? But my reality is it was not easy. And his blood sugars went crazy while he was going through this. So it was tight control all the time. Lady on the other side, sometimes people go into hospital and they say, you know what, so what? Or not. Yeah, they say they say to you, amputate, and you go, okay, yeah, sure, cut it off. But it does not stop there. Because this lady had her amputation, her foot healed. So the amputation is the lower right. The above right is the part of the healing process. And the middle one that says July 2017 is her healed foot. I can't remember if I added, but go to the next slide. No, I didn't. But she went on to have further issues. And right now, she actually had a challenge where she had another lesion that came up because her balance, that toe is gone. She was putting pressures in different areas. And she is a house helper. So she's on her feet for long periods of time. So the amputation is not the end. Can go. So when you're diabetic, why is all of what I'm saying so important? When you're diabetic and your blood sugars are out of control, and now the studies are showing that you don't have to be getting that magic ring the bell, I'm diabetic now. From the time you are pre-diabetic, so if you were pre-diabetic for 3 years, and then you became diabetic, that is the length of time you need to add up to go, I'm at risk of complications with anything. Eyes, kidneys, sensations, can't feel, feet, strokes. All right. So this is just showing you from a foot perspective. When you are diabetic and you have reached that point, you can lose your sensory neuropathy, get sensory neuropathy, which is loss of sensations in your feet, which means that you cannot get pain. You do not know where temperatures are. So you will walk. I have a patient who walked. I have all the scenarios. Walked on hot sand here, burnt the entire sole of his foot. Okay? And he is an educated person. So I'm just saying, it's nothing to do with being an idiot. It's to do with not following the rules. Okay? You can lose, so your nerves it's not just feeling. Your nerves are also responsible for movement. What I'm doing here, taking a lot of brain power, more than you know. And you know it when someone gets a stroke and they have to learn how to talk again, how to move again. It's not easy. So your motor control goes, and that then causes deformities in your foot. Then that puts you at risk of damage to your feet because you get clawed toes, etc. Autonomic, that's the one you don't even realize that you don't sweat the same way. And your grandchildren will come in and say, hi, Granny. And you're like, oh, hi. You didn't jump. You should have jumped. Somebody else would have gone like this. But you were like, oh, hi. Because you've impaired that. And that goes on then with other challenges, because now when you have poor circulation on top of that and trauma on top of that, you're opening a can of worms. All right. Next. I'll move quickly after this. So what can you do? You can recognize that when you're diabetic, you are at risk of getting a neuropathic foot, a neuroulcerated foot, a Charcot foot, an ischemic foot, a neuroischemic foot, a critically ischemic foot, an acutely ischemic foot, and a renal ischemic foot. I have a patient who she has many things going on. She's HIV, she is kidney disease, and she's diabetic. And I cannot get her foot to heal. She will heal and then she will break back down, but it's very common in renal ischemic feet. And if she wasn't coming to see a podiatrist, she would have lost her foot already. But she's been through a lot. So it's actually crazy that she still has her feet. She's doing really well. But my point is, these can be avoided by blood glucose control. Or they could be put further down. You can kick the box further down the road. Next, Trudy. So why are these complications and very important? We spoke about this already. Because it's real. It is real. It's not a myth. Move on, Trudy. I'm going to speak about numb feet because this nail puncture thing is very common here. And I want you to understand that when you have a nail puncture or you think you have a puncture of any type, it is immediately an emergency. If you don't see it as an emergency, woe to you. Because when you have a puncture, move on, that thing deposits, keep going. It deposits the bacteria way down in there. That's your puncture wound. See the difference between a puncture wound and a laceration? Puncture goes real deep down. That's why it ends up looking like this. So you go, I can't see because now you've got eye disease because of your diabetes. So you got punctured, you pull the thing out and you figure, well, I can't see nothing on my foot, so I done. And then 3 or 4 days later, your foot looks, go again, like that, big and swollen, and you're wondering, well, what happened here? That's because the bacteria that was on that nail or that staple or whatever you got punctured with planted its infection deep down into the dermis. And it took a little while for those little wonderful guys, this is why we don't get rid of bacteria and germs, They keep trying they want to control us. So they down there enjoying themselves, multiplying, and then boom, your foot is big and red. It may not be red. It may get darker. It may get swollen. It may just feel weird and heavy because you might be neuropathic and you didn't even get pain. So this is now starting to make sense when you're told, examine your feet on a daily basis. Be familiar with your feet. Don't ask me what to look for. Just know your feet well. Know that if the nail came off, that it came off. Know that if someone took a tattoo and put in your shoe and you put your foot in the shoe and it has a stamp on it, that the stamp was not there yesterday. Those are the kind of things that you need to be aware of. Go again. This is a natural nail puncture. This took 6 weeks to heal. So don't think, okay, well, whatever, get a nail puncture, I'll be fine. My blood sugars are good. That doesn't matter. I can heal I can be good. 6 weeks, no work, in an offloading boot, can't get the foot wet. That's the reality. And you guess what? You know what I hear all the time? I go, wear this boot all the time. And I'm like, well, if you want to get better, you have to, because we don't walk on our hands, we walk on our feet. And if you're putting those pressures on, the wound's not going to heal. Go again. My reality is, if you know the truth and you do nothing about it, then drum roll. And I am here telling you the truth. God is my witness. Go. So what's the other side? The other side is not getting enough blood flow to your feet. And guess what? The numbness and the blood flow, they do not come and wake you up that morning and say, when you're there sitting down having your tea and your coffee, and say, hey, buddy, today you can't feel, and tomorrow I can take away blood flow to your foot. No. It happens gradually over a period of time. And this is why being familiar, I can't say it enough, being familiar with your feet. And I always say to my patients, I prefer you to come and annoy me and say, look, I see this thing here. Is there something to worry about? Then for you to be at home being doctor and going, well, this is fine. I can go and get some BNT and put on this and this can be fine. And then it's a problem. So when you lose blood flow to your feet, which is what we were talking about earlier, ischemia, the one thing which is an early sign that most people have that some diabetics do not get is intermittent claudication. What is intermittent claudication? Cramps in your calves when you're walking. So you're going down the road by your friend or going down to the shop and your foot feels tight, but you didn't pay any attention, right? For me though, I'll be so much pain that I cannot walk. Most people who have intermittent claudication get a lot of pain. But when you're diabetic and you have reduced sensations in your feet, that is missed. So this is where screening, knowing what your pulses are, knowing whether you have good blood flow or not, is something that we do on a regular basis. Things like hair loss. Some men suffer hair loss from wearing trousers for long periods of time. So it's not always something, because you get hair loss on the legs. So it is really important that you are familiar with your feet and know, well, I've always had had no hair on my legs, just in this area because my trousers rubs hair. Shiny skin, no pulses. That's what we feel for. We feel for your pulses. All right. Men get erectile dysfunction. That's sometimes when they wake up. Only when that happens. All along, all the many things were going on. But when they get erectile dysfunction, all of a sudden, they forgot all about the other issues and it's now a problem. And if they had actually presented and been doing things earlier, you might have been able to control that as well, because you would have been doing the right things, getting your blood sugars under control. Next. This is just a quick one to say. Poor circulation, ischemia, that this is what it looks like. You start with where, the artery is not supposed to have any plaques at all. But with aging, sometimes I'm afraid we do get some plaques and just lifestyle. And then when you're diabetic, the plaques start to build up and they build up. And the reason why you get no blood flow is when at the bottom there, you'll see there's no hole for the blood to flow. That's basically what it is. You have enough plaques there. And when you're diabetic, you get calcification of the vessel walls. It's a very complicated process. But the reality is sometimes you get to a point where you cannot even. So when I go like this, I can squeeze my vessels and I can feel them pulsing. When you are diabetic, they can get so rigid and hard on the outside, but there's still a little bit of flow going on the inside. So it's always very difficult to know which box you actually sit in. But, I have some of my patients that I can't compress, and there are other tests we do. There's something called an ankle brachial index that we do just to get an idea as to what kind of flow you have going on. And we tend to screen and know when to refer to the next level. Next, Trudy. So, as a summary, how does it all affect you? You need to remember that with neuropathy, you have numb feet. Numb feet means that you cannot feel. Circulation means that you're not getting enough blood flow. And it means that if you get injured, it takes you that much longer to heal. If I had a dime for any time I had a patient with poor circulation and they tell me, but I don't understand, I normally heal well, is what they say. Because it is a denial that you're in a situation where you're not going to heal well. The reality is you're not in this alone. This is why the Diabetes Association is here, Diabetes Foundation. Different people are around, doctors, nurses. There are people who are around that help to give you that extra support. You're not alone. So the reality is, it is important to pull on the people that are going to help you, be supportive to you. And I always recommend my patients to come to Diabetes Association because, to be very honest, some of you in here have heard some of this stuff already. The people out there are the ones that are not in here, and they need to get this information. So when you go home, don't talk about the color dress I was wearing. Talk about the fact that, talk about how I said it. Talk about what I said. And you want to gossip about the fact that when you're diabetic, did you know that when you're diabetic and you don't control your diabetes, you could lose your foot because you can't feel and because you can't get blood flow into your feet? Those are truths, okay? Prevention. We do not have a healthcare system that is robust to manage the diabetic foot. Okay? Amputations do come pretty high up on the agenda. So, your best bet is not to go at all for your diabetic foot. Your best bet is to try to maintain your 10 toes, your 2 feet. And who do your feet live with? Who do your feet live with? You. So you're the best person, right? Exercise is something that we do not like to do. I don't like to do it either. But I have decided I do not want to weigh a certain amount. So I exercise. Lots of foods I would love to eat, which now I have removed from my diet. So you're not actually very special, because if you're going to be healthy, you might be quite like me. Now I'm very disciplined, so I'm a little abnormal. But I would say that there are lots, I don't have salt in my diet. I hardly eat anything sweet. I exercise every day, 45 minutes. And I do try to show you all that you can wear decent shoes. You would never in the guess what? Next year is 30 years. I've been here 30 years. And I don't think in the 30 years that you've ever seen me out, not only to even talks, that I wear stupid shoes. I don't. Because I want to let you see that you can have a normal life. You can enjoy your life. You don't have to have diabetes as a burden if you follow the rules. Next. So this is just a reminder, in summary, that it's not just an amputation. People lose their toes, and you'll see that different people lose their toes and look differently. But he has a callus, which then became an ulcer underneath his stump. So you see, it's a vicious cycle. It just keeps going. So just don't lose your toe, please. Just try to keep it. If you have an ingrown toenail, get someone that knows what they're doing about it. If you have a callus, don't buy the corn removers. Go and get someone who can give you advice about it. Because some people say, well, that's expensive, or the polyclinic doesn't have. But guess what? That's money well spent. And that money is not $50,000. So you need to think about not only when you have an amputation, it's the emotional changes, the biomechanical, how you walk, your day-to-day activities. There are a lot of things that change. You know, I have a patient who went into a Great Depression. She had a below knee amputation. And just being able to get out and about, she was someone that was very active. I have a couple people who have their amputations and then they die immediately, as in within the week of having the amputation, because they cannot, well, they get very ill. So I'm just saying that keep healthy, keep moving, and keep your blood sugars under control. Trudy? There are lots of guidance documents out there. This is one that shows that if you have no feeling in your feet, if you're good and you are good and you have feeling in your feet, you could be seen by your podiatrist once a year. So there's a lot of guidelines out there. But if you are like a category 3, which is that you've had an amputation, you have no feeling in your feet, and you have a history of ulceration, then you should be seen by your podiatrist every 1 to 3 months, because we see things you don't see. We predict things you don't see. Next. That's just showing you another chart. Go. These are all screening tools showing you that there's help out there. No medical practitioner should not know how to check whether you have sensation or not. And this is showing you things to look for, deformities to look for with regards to if you have a deformity on your foot, you're more at risk. Trudy, go. Another early detection risk strategy. Go. So I end by saying that your role is vital. Take care of your pair. Thank you very much. That should be our last slide. Yeah. Any questions? Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Susan Gill. Go to Radon Phillips Polyclinic. My problem is that I'm on insulin because I'm allergic to sulfur, so I wasn't able to take the tablets at the time. They didn't have the tablet that they could give me instead of the injection. My problem is that they have me on mornings. I'm supposed to take 6 units of insulin. Then at 12, I'm supposed to take at 12 o'clock, lunchtime 12, and now on evening 12. But I find my problem is that my sugar keeps dropping. My sugar usually drop low, right? So they have me on 56 on morning, so I'm going to take the last for the whole day. But I find when you see coming around to about 2 and 3 o'clock, my sugar will go to 3 and go low.
Which means that you're not quite in control of your blood sugars yet. And you're still feeling, you're feeling that you're not, from what you're saying that you don't feel comfortable with how your blood sugars fluctuate based on the medication that you're on.
Because 56, if I keep telling the doctor that my sugar keep dropping to 3 and 5, why would they want me to take 56 units of insulin?
But you're here with the Diabetes Association.
Right?
And I'm pretty sure, the diabetes and hypertension, I have to get accustomed to that.
Because when
association.
I take that 56, that I feel the 56 is too much.
Yeah, but again, what you do need to do is to maybe take the time to go and speak to someone at the association, maybe at the foundation, and get a better understanding. Are you writing down your blood sugars as well? Right. So take that booklet to show them, look, I'm on this amount of insulin. This is what is happening. And I need some more guidance and some tighter controls. And I think that guess what? Barbados has more doctors than anything else. So if you have one doctor who's giving you trouble, go see another one. That's all I could also say. But the reality is, see someone who knows about diabetes and how to manage diabetes. And there are some diabetes specialists out there. So it makes sense not to be, because you see how you get flustered like this too? That affects your blood sugars too, So
my problem is I'm telling them that the 56 is too much, and then they want me to I usually take on morning, they want me to take 6 at lunchtime 12. The morning one is 6 and 56. I have to take. So I already told them to get and tell me how much you get to. Then at evening time, they want me not to go and take 12 again before I go in my bed. And the sugar is low at 3. So how can I go and take insulin when my sugar is at 3?
So that's what I'm saying. You need
telling them about it, but they're not doing anything about it.
So change who you tell. Change who you are telling. You're obviously telling the same person. Change who you are telling.
It is wrong at the same clinic. She said it's too much. She said when you're going to take 56, who's going to wake you up if you're going to lay down sleep?
Right. So it sounds as if you just need to see someone else and get a better control of your blood sugars. What's that? No. Okay. No. Let's run with that. Let me hear what you think your benefits would be coming off your medication altogether.
Because sometimes you are explaining to them and telling you when you take the medication, your sugar is dropping and they're not listening to you, right? And they keep giving the same amount of medication. They don't say, well, let them drop it to, if it's 50, say, let's drop it to 50 and then see how much it go to. They're not dropping it. They're not listening to you, right? And they keep giving you until you have to take that 56. In the morning, I get it. Sometimes my sugar is low. Sometimes when I go, I'm going to go in my bed. I just got to double check my sugar because sometimes it dropped real low. And I could go in a coma. But y'all understand what I'm telling you?
I understand what you're saying. You are frustrated.
And I go in my bed and I check it before I go in my bed. What can happen if my husband will be hitting me or telling me one of it, my wife ain't getting it?
So what I'm trying to say to you is you have to take control, which is exactly where I started. Listen to me. You have to take control of how your blood sugars are being managed and who is managing your blood sugars. So you have people around you that can give you advice. You have a doctor that already told you that it's not right. So you need to follow that plan, or you need to seek help with the Diabetes Association. My thing is, if I'm going to a doctor and me and the doctor not getting along, I don't go back. I find somebody else. And I keep finding somebody else until he makes sense. So because at the end of the day, if you decide to come off your medication, it doesn't change the fact that you are still diabetic. And it doesn't change the fact that if you're not managing your diabetes, all the things I just told you are coming running at you like galloping horses. It doesn't change the fact that you are the one that's going to suffer.
So if my sugar at 5 and sometimes it goes to 7, and so I feel that managing my diabetes. Sometimes when I get up in the morning, I don't feel the need to take the insulin because the sugar be okay, but then still telling you that you have to go and take it. When you take it, then you start to feel bad, and when you check it at 3, right?
Right. So Trudy is saying that she's going to reach out to you.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. You're welcome. Oh.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'm Anderson Low, and I'm hypertensive and diabetic. So I wanted to give you a little perspective from a patient's view. My podiatrist, I haven't seen her in 2020. I haven't seen her in 2020. I haven't seen her in 2021. And I haven't seen her in 2022. So I don't know if she got COVID, she dead or what.
They're only 6.
But nothing out of her for 3 years.
But they're only, look, before you go any further there, let me answer that. There are only 6 of us on the island, 2 in the polyclinics. And I have told my patients, because I might be one of those people that you may speak like that about. When COVID came, a lot of us had to shut our clinics. If I have over 1,000 patients, I cannot call every patient and tell them, why are you not there? However, the onus is on you to pick up the phone and call them and say, why you didn't give me another appointment? So I'm saying to you,
You put that back on me, but you go ahead.
No, I'm just saying.
Because I think she see a lot of patients down there this year, you know. But I was not one of them. But go ahead.
I'm just saying that, again, you need to see the podiatrist, right? Minus the 2020 and the 2021, because they're kind of weird years. A lot of us, our offices were closed. Mine, I was only seeing emergencies. That's for a fact. And I will tell you, my regular diabetics called and said, checking to see whether you all are back up and running yet, because I need an appointment. I haven't come in. And I also had patients who came to see, and there's some patients that were not ready to go back out yet. So some of them we called and they said they're not ready to leave home yet. So I'm going to advise you go home and call your podiatrist and go and see her next week or week out. But you might actually have to wait like 3 months now because a lot of us are very busy.
Yeah, 3 years of it, but I feel it. And if I did very well in 3 years, I think I might proceed along that path, but that's another story.
So are you neuropathic?
I know what it is. It's just,
are you ischemic?
I know what it is.
Okay, so my advice.
The blood was flowing good and I was feeling, but that's 3 years ago.
I'm saying to you now, because you do not know what box you fit into, taking on that attitude of, well, I'm okay and I have been okay all along, that means you missed everything I said.
No, I had to do it for 2 years because I had the choice.
But now life is coming back to normal. Oh. Like I went to church today for the first time in that same length of time. The church didn't come to me. I went to church because I wanted to go.
Moving back on to the general diabetes, now I was looking and I saw your pictures and thing. I'm thinking, all right, I still have my 2 feet.
You have 10 toes?
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't say that. So
how do I keep these 10 toes? Mm-hmm. And how do I keep these 10 feet? But all I heard, 2 feet.
Got 2 feet.
All I heard is manage the blood sugar. Now here's the blood sugar aspect of it now. I really can't find a doctor that deals in diabetes yet, I have GPs. All they do, yeah, really, Barbados is a strange place. All they do is give me medication and tell me go. And then when I first started, I used to manage it very well. I used to keep it under 7. The A1C was good. But as you get older, now I find that I ain't keeping it under 7 so good. Because if I want to keep it under 7, listen to me, I have to starve if I want to keep my blood sugar under 7.
You guys share your insulin with him?
To get my blood sugar under around 7 or around 5, I have to eat at 5 o'clock once a day. And you see how that ain't working, because once you leave home and go in the place,
At this point in time, who's managing your blood sugars?
well, I have a GP,
At this point in time, who is managing your blood sugars?
but I suppose it's me.
Okay. Where did you go to school and train on how to manage diabetes?
I didn't train on that.
Oh, okay. So you have answered your own questions.
But as I keep telling you, finding a doctor who specializes in this and who's going to manage this for you.
So Trudy will take your name and we will get.
I don't want to sound cynical, or I don't want to sound like bashing anybody. But all the doctors who know this is take your money, give you a prescription, and sing along with your business.
So I would say that I'm not in a position to speak to that.
That I, as a person, as a patient, I have to be cognizant of. I have to balance between a doctor that I can reach when I want them and having a specialist that I can only reach once a year. And right now, I tend to move towards the person that I can reach when I want them, even though they may not be a diabetes specialist and they can't manage what I want. Because when they want a prescription in a hurry, when the prescription run out, that's the person they can get to.
That's your pharmacist?
No,
Just checking.
GP.
So, but then he's not managing your blood sugars. He's just giving you a prescription. So you run from the man that just seen you once a year and give you a prescription to the man that just gave you a prescription when you want it. But he's not managing your diabetes.
But that's what you start out with. When there's somebody that manages diabetes, it sounds good to hear you preaching it, but in practice, from
in Barbados that do that, have you rocked up? Because you're here in the Diabetes Association meeting,
right.
so I gotta talk about this. So have you rocked up to them? Oh, I'll step aside.
So good afternoon again. I'm not sure if you're finished the questions, but I want to express my formal appreciation to Simone for the presentation that she's done this afternoon on foot care. It's been quite interesting in terms of some of the comments that she shared with you this afternoon. And it has been even more interesting to get some of the questions back from you. That is even more interesting. And we are here gathered at a point in time when we've been through 2+ years of a global pandemic. And I think that you more so, don't let me say more so, you as well as I fully appreciate how this COVID-19 pandemic has truly changed the delivery of healthcare. We focused on COVID, even though there was an appreciation that there is that interplay between non-communicable diseases and the coronavirus. We have come to recognize that we absolutely need that team approach to care. And when there are certain elements of that team that are not there to support you, then things can go wrong. Right? So, Madam, I'm going to speak to you afterwards, but I don't want to put all your business out there for everybody. But I am going to speak to you about your insulin and your treatment. Resources. Anderson, I'm not sure if you know, but I will share with you along with everybody within the hearing of my voice that Barbados is extremely fortunate in terms of having access to diabetes specialists. There are other countries in the Caribbean that don't have any. Persons literally have to fly from one country to another to see a diabetes specialist. And we have multiple diabetes specialists on island. So therefore, it is a matter that we need to make that information available to our membership. We can do that. Not only do we have diabetes specialists, but we have doctors who have a special interest in diabetes and have therefore pursued further training in diabetes. So therefore, we have those resources available to us. And I want us to appreciate fully that what Simone was saying was extremely important. It is not just about the diagnosis, it's about the monitoring, it is about the care, it is about taking your medications, it is about interacting with multiple persons, not just your doctor, but also your podiatrist, etc. Simone, I didn't share this with you, but you did allude to it earlier. We are actually prepared after our meeting is concluded that we are going to have a live demonstration of how you need to examine your feet. And that is going to be facilitated by Ms. Annette Clark, Mr. Eric Holder, and Simone can also lend her voice to that as well. Because, as Simone rightly said, as much as we have podiatrists on island, if you can appreciate that there are only 6 of them, they will not be able to service our entire population, particularly those persons who are at risk and those persons who have a diagnosis of diabetes. So it's critically important, as Simone said during her presentation, you need to be familiar with your feet. You need to be able to determine if something is normal for you or if it is not normal and you therefore need to seek further attention. I hope that in my comments, I have captured some of the salient points, but perhaps there are some other questions that persons may wish to pose. Are there any other questions? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
My name is Elton Jordan. I'm a diabetic and hypertension. I just attend the clinic, which is kind of at Warren's, but now foot is be like tingling. The whole foot, all 2 foot will be numb. Even sometimes on the morning get up, and I put the foot is can't get me feeling in the foot, nothing so. Even if I stand too long, I find out I fall. But I went to my doctor, and she told me that the nerves have gone.
Oh dear.
And like, yes, I don't know what still feel stiff. As the lady said that the numbness and thing. If I walk from this around, I feel like I want to fall down. So I want to know what the cause of this hypertension of this situation.
Simone, this is for you.
So unfortunately, the slides are gone. But remember, I spoke to you about the neuropathy, and I said it's numbness in the foot and the fact that you can't feel. I remember there was a slide I had up that said sensory, motor, autonomic neuropathy. So when we say you cannot feel, most people think pain. But it is a combination because the nerve fibers are all different sizes. So your sensory goes first. The autonomic goes first. The sensory goes second. And then your motor is a larger fiber, so it goes last. And it gets damaged because of the high blood glucose levels in your system. Remember, you talked about the buckling. That's part of the weakness that I had also had up there that you get because of the lack of lack of nerve supply to that muscle. There are, however, some studies that show exercise does improve marginally that strength. So blood sugar is under control. Exercise and movement is very important to help prevent that. The challenge that you tend to have is we've grown up knowing pain tells us when something is wrong. So when pain is gone, we don't recognize that maybe there is something wrong. So what I would suggest is that you need to have a podiatry examination to know how significant your neuropathy is, and there's specific tests that can be done to determine how specific your peripheral neuropathy is or your loss of sensation is. And there are some meds that can be used, but in general, with diabetes, when it's gone, it's usually gone. It's not coming back. So the buckling, the numbness, that kind of thing, it means you got to be checking your shoes before you put your foot in your shoe. You have to be checking your socks, changing your socks on a regular basis, looking at the soles of your feet, wearing the right size shoe. All of those things fall into being, or even in some cases, there are some shoes that are then made for persons who have neuropathy, which gives you a little bit more stability. So when you're walking, you are actually sitting much better on the ground as you walk. So it depends on what stage you're at and what then needs to be done. It's not a hypertensive issue. It is a diabetic issue.
So that means that the blood, if you sometimes the throat is just kind of feel numb or just burning.
And that's all part of peripheral. That's all part of peripheral neuropathy. That is what you call peripheral neuropathy.
So how you get rid of?
You can't. You can't. You could have got rid of it 10 years ago if your blood sugars was well under control.
My blood sugars are starting to drop, starting to go up.
Yeah,
So,
and blood sugars change.
yeah.
You know, it's not the same. If I took my blood sugar when I came in and I take it when I go out, it's going to be different. But what you want is that it sits in the range of normal.
My blood sugar was 5.8. Right? Sometimes it's starting to drop. Tell me, remember it's starting to drop. Notable 3 point. I did feel so bad. I didn't even know what to do because I did not want that time. I didn't know they had the tablets. And a lady tell me how to bend and buy a fruity. And you just give me something for back up. Blood sugar. When they get, I went to doctor. No, doctor told me that if I had a coma, I would fall in the bottom. But then she's get tablets and they stop going back up. And sometimes no. Every month I get a second. So they tell me 5, 6. So they tell me 7, 8. Just keep going up and down all the time. And I just stay then my phone, natural, I have a big bag stuff doctor gives me with tablets and all kinds of stuff. I step them and still get the problems.
Right. So I think it's sounding like if you're not quite understanding what medication you're taking, why you're taking it, and the importance of it. And the other side of the fence is without the medication, you probably will not be standing here today. So yes, it's a big bag of tablets, but you also need to make sure that you're not taking things that are giving you side effects as well. That is part of the double dosing that you're doing. So it sounds as if you need to get some guidance on naturalists. This is, you're taking this because of your hypertension, right? Glyformin, you're taking this because of your diabetes. I don't know what else you're taking, but you then need to be looking at that. Now, I would also say when you get poor circulation, you can also get some burning in your feet. All right. So although they might be because the nerves are not working, it could be from the circulation challenges. But the one common thread that all of y'all have spoken have in here is management. There is a management issue. And it saddens me because as someone who has been around for a while and I took 10 years off where all I did was the Diabetes Foundation, where the key element is education. The key element was training doctors to be able to not have you stand up here and say this. It's a little heartbreaking. But I would say that you're here and that's the beginning. So we need to work together. There are people that are hearing this, and we need to recognize that there is no special prize for the person that did A, B, or C. It's about people, it's about their lives, it's about managing, it's about working as a team, as was said by Trudy. So you need to be managed by a team. You need to have maybe a nurse who you can see on when you have these problems, you should be able to have contact with your diabetes nurse who specializes in diabetes. You don't necessarily always have to run to your doctor, because once your doctor has given you the medication, the idea is the diabetes specialist nurse takes over. They look at your training, they handhold you, they make sure that you are understanding what you're taking, why you're taking it, when you're taking it, and what your complications are, and managing that.
You don't have a diabetes nurse.
But we do. But Trudy is going to take that on again. Sorry, Trudy, you got a lot on your plate here. But this is telling me, as Trudy said, coming out of the pandemic, it's true. We now want to hit the road running. And you were left to your own devices for 2 years, right? So now you need to shake it out and you need to go, right, I need to sort this out. If I wake up tomorrow morning and I don't feel well, I don't just go and open my medicine cabinet and take a tablet. I take a note of what my symptoms are. I take a note of the fact that they're abnormal, and I go and see my doctor. And I have changed doctors several times on this island, because if I have a doctor that is telling me what I know does not make any sense, then I go to another doctor, because we got about 1,500 of them. So you could keep moving. Okay?
Okay.
And you have support systems. Use your support systems.
Thank you very much.
Okay?
They got up one morning, Randy was saying out there.
Go to the microphone.
Randy said out there, was getting sick, remember the pandemic had no started. And when we wake up in the morning and they check my sugar, it went to 30. I called the diabetic association and they tell them, why should my sugar be at 30? And not to know I ain't getting a response. And then a couple of days after, it went to 0.0, and nobody explained those two things to me, and that is not fair, because I was home alone and it started to feel bad, and my mind tell me sit down in the chair, and then I sit down in the chair and it started to feel real bad, and my mom was home. And I also know nobody explained to me why my sugar went to 30 and why it went to this 0.000 thing. And nobody explained those two terms to me, what it means. And that's not fair. Because for your sugar to go to 30, and then it went to 30, I just wanted to find out why it went to 30. And I asked more than one doctor and they never explained it to me.
So there are a lot of things that come in there, is with regards to the machine working, with regards to when you took it, et cetera, et cetera. But I will say to you, you are not alone. Okay? No. But being very serious.
And up to now, the doctors can't tell me why I went to 300, and I still like walking, but then it should be a dead woman.
But again, it's down to machine error, and it's also down to how it was. There's some, but my reality is, but your reality is it's no longer 300, right?
They went to 300, they went to 2 something, but I never went back to the 300.
Okay. So the one comment I wanted to make was, you're not alone, from the perspective that around the world, they have shown and highlighted shortcomings of managing persons during the pandemic. And there has been a huge fallout. Amputation rates went up. There were lots of challenges that occurred as a result. And I do not think it is fair to go back to the pandemic. We need to leave the pandemic behind, and we need to move forward with a learning curve. I know internationally they are putting things in place so that should there be another challenge such as a pandemic, that there are better systems, digital systems, telephone systems in place to be supportive. We are not a perfect world, but the reality is, let's move forward. You have these challenges, seek help and move forward with how do you prevent it And don't worry about why your blood sugars were at that whatever high. They're no longer there, and let's move forward with it. Right, good. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks for this discussion. Now, what time is it? What's going on?
After we finish the entire meeting. In a few minutes. Right, so I want to thank all of the persons who posed questions to us. I know that Simone and I, as healthcare professionals, and there are other healthcare professionals in the audience as well, including a doctor, that we know what we went through in trying to maintain the level of care to persons across the island, and there were challenges. I am not going to stand up here and pretend to you that everything was smooth sailing. We've had a number of challenges. And as Simone rightly said, we have to look forward to the day that perhaps we might be challenged again like this, or perhaps even worse. And therefore, we have to make sure that we have the proper systems in place. However, we already acknowledge that there is a background where we were not doing on a national level what we needed to be doing. And therefore, those are also things that we're working towards, right? So, as I had said a few moments ago, we are going to be doing some hands-on with you. So if you are inclined to stay, we are going to have a session where you actually get to understand what you are supposed to be doing when you examine your feet every day, and also some additional tips for you in terms of maintaining the best possible foot health. So I want you to tell me, was this a good topic that we selected for this afternoon? It was a good topic. Okay. So that means that we have, based on the questions that you've posed, the association remains quite relevant in this context and our stage in the pandemic. So at this point in time, I am going to deliver a status report in terms of what the association has been doing for the past 6 months or thereabout. So let me move on. Right, so we would have convened our biennial general meeting on the 23rd of April of this year, and we would have elected a full executive. And I have their names there so that you can appreciate that these are the persons who are responsible for the association for the biennium 2022 for 2024. We would have had a leadership. Okay, why is it worked just now. If they can have someone provide assistance. Okay. No. It does not. Let me pass this on to you. So we would have had our leadership retreat a couple months later, where the executive, along with our staff members, would have discussed our strategic plan for the period 2021 to 2025. And we identified a number of priorities which we were going to pursue for this biennium. Next slide. Okay. Now, the association has changed its name legally, and therefore we have also had to consider that we would also need to change some elements of our constitution. That process is underway. We have been in contact with the attorneys who have been guiding us in terms of what the constitution could possibly contain, but the decision remains with us and the general membership of the association in terms of the approval of the constitution. At the moment, the first draft has been returned to us by the attorneys. Our executive committee have reviewed those proposed changes based on the discussion that we have been in. We have started the discussions also with the Committee of Management, which is drawn from the Executive Committee, as well as representatives from each of the regions across the island. So therefore, that process is underway. We are anticipating that potentially in January, we will see if that is a fixed date or if we might have to change it. We will be in a position to bring those proposed changes to the Constitution, to the general membership, so we can have a robust discussion in terms of how we would want to have the association governed in terms of the legal elements. As well, based on the change of our name, we are changing all of our handles across our digital platforms. So that would incorporate Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and we're also making changes to our website. So we are anticipating that perhaps in a very short order, we will be able to have those finalized and be ready to interface with our membership as well as members of the public. Next slide. Right. So the association observed its 47th anniversary on the 30th of April of this year. And we would have joined the congregation at the Berean Bible Church in Hutherso Turning for their morning service. I would have delivered remarks, and I believe that service was also live streamed. So those persons who could not join us in person would have been able to join us online. I want you to appreciate that there is only a difference of 3 between 50 and 47. So we are looking ahead to our 50th anniversary of existence in less than 3 years. We would want to observe that in a significant way. And therefore, those discussions are underway in terms of what we will do to really make that a momentous occasion. Next slide. Now, this year is not the first year that we would have observed World Hypertension Day formally, but it's the first year that we did it in a big way in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. We would have worshipped at the Calvary Moravian Church located on Robert Street on the Sunday immediately prior to World Hypertension Day. We were invited to make remarks, and we were also very fortunate in that the pastors at that church actually made a donation to each of the 3 organizations that would have collaborated for World Hypertension Day that year. And we would have expressed our appreciation to them for that financial donation. On the 29th of May, we would have hosted, in collaboration with the Barbados Diabetes Foundation and the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados, a webinar entitled Conquering the Silent Killer, Our Response. We would have had 3 speakers, Professor Emeritus Sir Henry Fraser, Professor Sir Trevor Hassel, and Dr. Kenneth Connell, who are all eminently qualified within the area of hypertension. It was a very engaging conversation that was had, and we are planning to follow up on that in terms of bringing more content to persons because we recognize that there is a need for that information. We continued our collaboration with Corporators General Insurance because they would have hosted tips on hypertension, which were aired during the CBC Evening News. On World Hypertension Day, we would have had features in both The Nation and Barbados Today, which is the online newspaper. And then we would also have collaborated with the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados for their May Measurement Month campaign, which is really part of the international campaign to get persons to have their blood pressures measured, those persons who have never had it done before, but those persons who may be at risk, which includes every person above the age of 18. So we successfully did that. Next, I would have referenced 2 of these organizations before, but I will mention the Barbados Red Cross Society here especially. This is the collaboration we've been trying to forge for the last couple of years, and I would have had a meeting with them 2 weeks ago. We're looking at collaborating with them in very specific ways. That discussion is still underway, so therefore I cannot share with you any definitive areas of collaboration as yet, but those discussions are ongoing. With regards to the Barbados Kidney Association, we are also forging a collaboration with them because I think persons can very much appreciate that if your diabetes and or hypertension is uncontrolled, you are at risk for complications, one of which includes kidney disease. And therefore, we're forging a collaboration with the Barbados Kidney Association so we can bring some more information to you so that you would recognize the importance of having both your blood sugar and your blood pressure under control to reduce the risk. Next. The association is in a very interesting position in that an invitation has been extended to us to sit on Barbados's National NCD Commission. I don't think that we've been represented on this national body before, but the invitation has been extended and we are awaiting a response from the Ministry of Health and Wellness regarding whether that has been accepted and whether we will be indeed be represented on that body. Next. The Ross University School of Medicine, which has been in Barbados for a few years now, they have continued to invite us to be part of their activities, and therefore we would have been represented at the community engagement fair that they would have held a couple months ago, where we would have actively engaged with their students in terms of sharing with them what the association does so that their students can offer and work with us in terms of delivering the products and services that we currently do. They have also extended an invitation to us to submit a proposal for funding for specific programs that we would wish to do. We would have submitted one proposal this year, and that has been accepted. It's been partially funded. So discussions are ongoing in terms of how we roll out that program. Next. The University of the Southern Caribbean, they currently conduct a dietetics program, dietetics being the field as it relates to food and the consumption of food in the right quantities and amounts. And therefore, we would have had 2 of their students facilitated at our headquarters to complete their regional community nutrition practicum. There's some of you who may have taken advantage of that opportunity to go through nutrition counseling, and therefore we're looking at other ways that we can facilitate these types of collaborations for the benefit of our membership. And that leads me straight into a professional body that was launched in July of this year in Barbados called the Dietitians of Barbados. They launched in July, and they actually credit the association as being the venue where they first started discussions about forming this professional body. Excuse me. So therefore, we continued our discussions with them last week, where we're looking at how we can have them provide services to us, which will benefit our membership. So that is ongoing and is very much welcomed, and I think that we're doing it for the benefit of our membership. Earlier this year, we would have been extended an invitation by Thalius to participate in their Hurricane Awareness Expo. At that event, we were fortunate enough to interact with personnel from the Department of Emergency Management. And through that interaction, they actually invited us to participate in a webinar that they were having to provide some information in terms of how to prepare for hurricanes in the context of what we would have experienced with Hurricane Elsa. That was actually convened on the 14th of July of this year, and I would have been invited to be a panelist in that discussion. I believe some footage from that webinar was subsequently aired on the CBC Evening News, and I believe that there's still content from that webinar, which is still available online for those of you who have access to your digital channels. You can go and peruse that information. The Queen Elizabeth Hospital, which is very close to me, they have reinvigorated their patient empowerment committee. What this committee really is intended to do is to serve as a liaison between the association and the QEH, because obviously persons with diabetes and hypertension utilize the QEH very frequently. So therefore, they want us to provide information to them about the way they deliver their services, the way they interact with you, etc., so that they can improve the way that they deliver their services. So therefore, there is some additional information that will be shared with you once there is some additional information that they share with me. There is a new body in Barbados called the Healthy Nation Initiative. And they have extended an invitation to the association to collaborate with them. And this is currently under consideration. So more details will be made available once those discussions are underway and reach a point where we can report on that in a very robust manner. Moving on, the Chronic Disease Self-Management Program, which was reestablished last year, is a collaboration with the Pan American Health Organization, as well as the Ministry of Health and Wellness. We launched our first workshop in November of last year, and we have been actively promoting this workshop through as many channels as become available to us. Significantly, we would want to have a formal launch of this program before this month of October is over. And we have also made arrangements to award the successful participants of these workshops with their certificates of completion. So though it's going to be held in this room, as you can tell, the space is going to be a little bit limited because we already have maxed out our invitation list at about 150 persons. But we are going to be streaming this ceremony online. And therefore, those of you who wish to view the actual award ceremony, you can do so online. And that information will be shared with you in the coming days. As part of the Chronic Disease Self-Management Program, there is a module in there referred to as HEARTS, which is a focus on cardiovascular health in the context of diabetes. And therefore, an invitation has also been extended to us to serve on this steering committee. It is integral to the program because we recognize it's not just all about medications. There are also some additional elements as it relates to managing yourself that we deliver within the Chronic Disease Self-Management Program. And that is going to be launched before the end of 2022. It is going to be launched in the polyclinic. So those of you, and I believe those persons who pose questions, at least two of you, you are actively in the polyclinic system. So therefore, I would encourage you, if you haven't already completed the program, that you need to do so because it really provides valuable information that is essential for taking control. Insulin for Life USA. We continue to work with that organization that is based in the US, where they supply insulin products as well as ancillary supplies to us free of cost. However, the association does have some expenses related to this, and therefore persons can take advantage of the supplies that come to us, and you don't have to be out of pocket for those supplies. And the number of persons who are benefiting from this program continues to increase. With regards to our international affiliate, which is the International Diabetes Federation, our membership dues are current. So we are in good standing with that organization. The IDF Diabetes Congress is going to be held in Portugal of this year from the 5th to the 8th of December. Mr. Tyrone Lowe. Tyrone, can you wave to our audience? Our first vice president. He has been nominated to attend the Congress, and therefore we actively are seeking funding for him to go. Please bear in mind that Barbados is considered a high-income country, So we do not qualify for sponsorship from the IDF to send our delegate. So therefore, we have to find those funds from our own pockets and coffers. And therefore, we are actively seeking some sponsorship to allow Tyrone to represent Barbados at this Congress. Our mobile unit and community outreaches, we continue to do that, albeit it had waned significantly during the pandemic, but we are ready and raring to go to get the mobile unit back on the road and to get some screenings done in terms of blood sugar, blood pressure, cholesterol, etc. In terms of the mobile unit and some of the significant partnerships that we have had a presence at AgroFest this year. I would have previously mentioned the Thalia's Hurricane Preparedness Expo. That same day, we would have had another event at Central Park Greens, where the Cooperatives Department of the Ministry of Energy, Business Development and International Business would have hosted a full day at which we would have been invited to do screening. We've also had an invitation from the Lions Club to assist them in their screening activities as well. The Barbados Water Authority, we would have been invited to deliver presentations to their staff across the entire island, both on diabetes and hypertension. And we currently have under consideration an invitation from the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training to assist them in an event that they're having later this month, at which they would wish to have screening for their staff. So you see, the association continues to be quite busy. We could be busier, but there are some limitations that we do need to appreciate in times of time constraints. In terms of our volunteer support, we have continued to be an active facilitator in the National Give Back program that was announced by the government of Barbados a number of years ago. And therefore, we have continued to facilitate those persons who are enrolled in those programs to lend volunteer support to the association. In terms of additional consultations, the Barbados National Standards Institute invited us to be part of a regional committee where we are looking at developing a CARICOM regional standard for the labeling of nutritional products, and that collaboration continues. And just recently, it was 2 weeks ago, Tyrone, the Ministry of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs, we would have been invited to a consultative exercise that they would have conducted on aging. And when we talk about aging, we're not talking about just elderly persons, we're talking about the entire population. And therefore, we had a physical presence, we had an online presence, and we're also going to be lending our comments in writing as well, because it is definitely something that is quite weighty, and it's something that we need to address for the entire population. In terms of research, we would have been extending an invitation to have a survey circulated among our members where they were looking at air pollution in Barbados. They were talking about wildfires. And I was a little bit hesitant to begin with because I didn't see the relevance of it. But certainly when I would have spoken to them on a one-on-one session and they shared with me the genesis or the context, it really became quite relevant in terms of the relationship to both diabetes and hypertension. And therefore, I would have given approval for that survey to be conducted from among our members. And I certainly thank those of you who would have completed that survey for your contribution to that. I certainly look forward to getting a final report from the University of the West Indies on that collaboration. Now, as you can see, we do a lot of work. And a lot of people, when they hear the word charity, they think freeness. But I'm telling you, freeness comes at a price because you can see that we're doing a lot. We have to maintain a physical office. We have to make sure that we have enough money to pay for the utilities and to pay for the staff salaries and all the other expenses we incur in terms of delivering the services that we provide. And therefore, we are certainly deeply appreciative of the past collaborations that we've had. And we certainly want to encourage those persons who recognize the significant impact of the work that we do to continue to donate to the association and to invest in the citizens of Barbados. Our audited financial report for the financial year 2021 is completed, and we would have indicated at our biennial general meeting convened in April of this year that we would be looking for an auditor, and that search does continue. Now, we are winding up the year, and the next significant month after October is November. And in November, we recognize World Diabetes Day. Now, the International Diabetes Federation, they would have had an overarching theme for the period 2021 to 2023, which is access to diabetes care. And remember, last year, the focus was on insulin because it would have coincided with the 100th anniversary of the discovery of insulin. And this year, they're turning their attention to diabetes education. And therefore, the theme is education to protect tomorrow. So there are a number of activities that we are looking to conduct this year. And go to the next slide. So what we have here is a skeleton so far, because I don't want to let the cat out of the bag at this stage. But we will be sharing that information with you sooner rather than later. We are looking to have a bus ride either on the 5th or the 6th of November. That date is not yet finalized because we're not sure if people will prefer to do that on a Saturday or a Sunday. So therefore, we are soliciting your feedback so you can let us know so that we can complete the planning for that event. On the 11th of November, we are looking to conduct a diabetes expo. Now, mind you, this is not the name of the event, and I'm not letting the cat out of the bag today. However, we want to create an avenue for those of you who have been diagnosed with diabetes to come to one venue and get access to all of the professionals that you need to have access to in order to help you manage your diabetes. Does that sound like a plan? Good. 2 days later, we will be having our church service, as I had indicated in the previous comments. We already have confirmation that we will be accommodated by the James Street Methodist Church at their morning service on the 13th of November. And to round out that day, we will also have a 5K walk and run. We are very appreciative. The Lions Club of St. Michael has extended an invitation to us that they will coordinate this walk run on our behalf. And therefore, that is also something that we are looking forward to. And we are also going to be including the Breastfeeding and Child Nutrition Foundation of Barbados, as well as the Barbados Diabetes Foundation in that as well. And on World Diabetes Day itself, we will have the John Grace Memorial Lecture and Panel Discussion. That will be a hybrid event, such as what we're doing here. It will start at 7 p.m. at the Lloyd Erskine Sandyford Center, and the room can accommodate 500 people. So everyone here is charged with the responsibility of bringing 10 people. Good. No, those may not be all of the events we're having, but certainly that is what I can share with you at this point in time. Now, regrettably, we've had some changes to our staff complement. Mrs. Stacia Brewster, who has been serving as our office administrator for quite an extended period of time, has tendered her resignation, and that would have taken effect from the 1st of September of this year. We are in the process of recruiting someone to replace her. And in the interim, we have Miss Keisha Weeks, who is at the back. So Keisha, wave. That's Miss Keisha Weeks. She is assisting us in the interim until such time as we appoint someone permanently in that position. I believe that I see something happening on the side, and that is because I don't know Stacy and you, but that is, we are offering a token of appreciation to Stacia now for all of the work she has done. Y'all don't know. I mean, our office may be open from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., but I'm telling you, our staff, both Stacia, who has left us, and Sonia, work tirelessly outside of those hours to really provide the support that we need at the association. And we want to recognize her formally for that. This is not all we're doing for Stacia, but it's the token of appreciation that we're extending now. Tyrone, I see that you've been handed the bag. So Tyrone, you are the man in the hot seat now. You want to say a few words? Okay.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam President, and good evening, everyone. Good evening. All right. As our president has said, this lady was at the association for a long time. Could you come this way? I personally have joined the association somewhere in the early 1990s at the charming invitation of this good lady here and Nurse Noreen Merrick, our former president. I work in insurance, and we were asked to get involved with some cause. So we picked the Diabetes Association, and we were so happy to have helped them. And they were still here, equally happy to be with us. And from there on, we developed this relationship. I could call on her, she could call on me. In fact, she called on me a little too often at times. I was wondering, is anybody else that you can call on? But she still called again the next week or so. And therefore the closeness developed, the admiration for how she kept things at the office going. I think in between presidents, she must have been the one to help truly learn her way through the office and do other things like that, because she was always the connector, you see? And therefore, it was like seeing someone that you found in this world leave before you get a chance to really show the value that you appreciate what they bring. So with a heavy hearts, I'm sure, we present you, Stacey, this token of appreciation for all you have done. You would argue that, but the size of it, it can never replace the value that we attach to her.
Okay.
He wants me to come from behind the podium. The mic might suffer, but we can still. That's all right. And therefore, on behalf of the Diabetes and Hypertension Association of Barbados, formerly Diabetes Association, where you started, we present this token of appreciation to you for your dedication, your commitment, for almost becoming a fixture at the association. We hope that this lasts long enough and bring enough value to you to really deeply show our appreciation of how we value you. Best wishes to you, Stacey, and thank you for all your help. You want to say something as well? She wants to say something. So.
But I think it would be nice to you. Yeah, thanks, Tyrone, and for everyone who supported me over the years.
Raise the volume.
Yeah. So as I said, thanks to everyone for their support over the years. I would continue to work, but as a volunteer, right? So I would not leave out the association. It has been a pleasure, and I will continue as I'm doing now, keeping in touch and helping in any way from afar. So thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You sure?
yeah. So it was a very hard decision, but due to family circumstances, it's something that needed to be done at this time. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Stacey. Well, Madam Percy said she'd still be a volunteer. It's going to be cheaper on us, but we will have her around nonetheless to carry on her influence. Thank you so much, Madam President. Best wishes.
I know Simone has left us, and therefore this comment will be lost because she will not be here to appreciate it. But it's almost like losing a foot. I mean, something so integral, to us. It is a loss. Stacey, it is a loss. But we appreciate your rationale for doing so. And certainly for those of us who have suffered loss, the time is now to show the persons around us that we appreciate them and that we get to spend times with the persons that we love before they pass from this earth. And I know Stacey didn't mention it, but your grandmother is more than 100 years old, right? 102. So therefore, she's very close to her, and therefore I think that might have played a significant part in the decision. But ultimately, whatever your decisions are, we support you. We welcome your continued support of the association in whatever capacity that you choose. So thank you. So obviously, the association has a core remit to those persons who join our membership in terms of our programming and the services that we provide. And therefore, we will continue to pursue those. And therefore, with those remarks, I think I will conclude my report. Anderson, did you want to? No, okay. Are there any questions? Are there any questions that persons may have either about the update that I have provided, or do you have any general questions that you would wish to ask or any comments you would wish to make at this time? Yes, ma'am. We see that this is an outlet for you today.
Yes, I enjoyed the session. It was very educated. I was part of being a president of many PTAs, Hansbury School, and then Milton Lynch and those schools. And I was on the organization in raising funds. So if you all need help in raising funds, you can call me. I will promise you, everybody I went to, that I tell them I will help them to do anything. I will give them fish cake batter that to help to sell, to bring in funds. That's what my offer was when I went to the PTA. And I remember we had a fair, and the guy told me, but keeper, he told me he didn't give me the money he have on the account. Tell him keep it, I will get the money. And I went to funeral homes, I went to every place I could think of, and everybody gave me a little bit. At the end of the day, back to $32,000.
Look, I want you to know, right? I don't know your name, but I want you to know that my treasurer's eyes lit up. His eyes lit up. So trust me, we will be in contact with you beyond the personal assistance that we need to render to you. We will also be taking advantage of the offer that you have made publicly. She don't know what she do. She don't know. There's something about this association that when you start to volunteer, you find yourself more immersed in it, because you recognize that while you may be fulfilling God's purpose for your life, that purpose might also involve impacting other people. And I want you to appreciate that though our numbers may be few right now, that doesn't mean that the association doesn't have an impact. The things that we have been involved in, the things that we are going to be involved in, the programming that we want to extend to our members and the public of Barbados, it is all to make a significant impact for the benefit for each and every one of the citizens of Barbados. So, if there are no further comments or feedback or questions, I want to thank each and every one of you for your attendance at this session this afternoon. Annette, please direct me. Do you want to do it in the audience, or do you want to have a chair up here? You want to have a chair up here. Chairs up here. So we're going to give Annette and Eric a couple of minutes to set up. And we are going to do the practical hands-on self-examination that those of you with diabetes should be doing every day. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and thank you. In terms of the self-examination, we're testing blood sugars in here today. If we were testing blood sugars in here today, that might be a different story.
Matter of fact, you're going to follow some instructions and do this is called self-management. When we cannot see the podiatrist, the doctor, the nurse, you are at home for 3-6 months without seeing the doctor. This is what you're supposed to be doing on a daily basis to take care of your feet. The literature is saying that diabetes is a major cause of lower limb amputation, many of which can be prevented by good foot care. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound familiar to y'all? Good foot care. And good foot care doesn't only mean you're going to the podiatrist or the doctor. You have to start foot care from home. You doing it yourself or someone helping you to do it, all right? So without further ado, I don't want to repeat everything that Dr. Simone has said. So first thing we do, understand that this is a practice that you do every day. So you should check your feet every day. Another thing that I will say at this point is you're going to be walking around with shoes all the time, both indoors and outdoors. Okay, so if you're not doing that, now is the time to start. No one living with diabetes should be walking around with bare feet. Okay, so without further ado, we're gonna wash our feet. We don't have water, basins and soap right now. So the first thing you're going to do is to remove shoes and socks. Next, wash your feet in warm water. Okay, warm water, not hot water, not cold water, warm water. Wash both feet and dry both feet thoroughly, especially between the toes. Okay. We're checking both feet. So take a look at your feet. Get familiar with your feet. Take a good look. You should know your feet. You should be able to distinguish that foot from this one. Okay? So get to know your feet. Look at the sides, the soles, the top. Okay? So when we are checking. So use your hands. This is a hands-on thing. So use your hands. Feel those feet, okay? Right. So you're checking for lumps and bumps or anything that is unusual. At this point, I would normally say cuts and bruises, but I was updated this afternoon to state to you all categorically, you're looking for abnormalities. That sounds like a big word, it's not. Anything unusual. So if you're not checking your feet every day, you're not going to know if something is happening. All right, so every day, like we brush our teeth every day, every morning, every evening, you're checking your feet every day for anything abnormal. Okay. So we're checking the whole foot. Okay, so let me see you having a feel of your whole foot. Show me your foot. Foot. That's your leg. Okay, so the foot. This is your foot from here right the way down. Okay, this when I say check the top. When I say check the top of your foot, this is what I want you to do. Okay. All right. We're looking at the sides. These are the sides all the way around, all the way around, and then you're going to look at the soles. So you're going to sit in the chair. And if you can't see it, you're going to put your foot over here. Okay? Let's see if there's anything going on. If you got any nails, any tacks, any hairpins, any staples, don't laugh. Many a patient has turned up in the accident emergency unit with tacks in the foot that they didn't know that was there. Okay? All right, so let me see you checking the soles of your feet. Let me see you checking, all right? Make sure that everybody's looking. Let me see you looking at the soles. At the sole of your feet, the sole of your feet. Check the soles, yes, and you're looking. You're supposed to be looking. Lift those feet up. Lift those feet up. Right now we're looking at the sole. We're looking at the soles. We're looking at the soles, sir. Have a look at the sole. Okay, can you see? Can you see the sole of your feet? Okay, very good. Is there anybody that cannot see the sole? Okay. Right, so that's the reason you're checking the sole. If you find something abnormal, you make a note of it. Okay. So let me see once again. Let me see everybody checking the soles of their feet. Lift the feet up. Lift one foot up at a time, of course. One at a time. Let me see you checking the sole.
See at the bottom before they can't see it. It's a mirror here that you can. Mirror at home that.
Let me see. Let me see you check yours. Lift your feet up. Lift it up.
Anybody need my mirror?
Yes, this lady right here. Okay, so if you cannot see the sole of your feet, you ask someone to look or you use a mirror. All right? But that's very important, okay? So we're gonna just really quickly go over that. Put the feet down, put the feet down. So we're looking at the top. We're looking at the top, feeling the top. Right? Go right around, right around, right around. Okay, right around the top, right around. Right around. All this is the top. All this is the top. Okay. Right. Then we're going to do the sides. Looking and feeling the sides. Looking and feeling the sides. Okay. Okay. These are the sides. Okay. And notice that we haven't reached the toes yet. We haven't specified the toes yet. Okay, so the tops and the sides. Now we're going to look at the toes. Check over. Okay, looking at the toes. Anything unusual? Looking at the nails. Looking at the nails. Looking at the nails, those of us who are wearing nail varnish will not be able to see the color of the nails. So that's why we need to remove that nail varnish sometimes and see what is going on with the nails. All right. The nail might look brown, it might be discolored, a different color that you're accustomed to seeing. Okay. Right? So you're looking at those nails. Now we're going between the toes. Between each, yes. Over the other side. You want to stay there? Stay there. Check that they're doing each, in between each. One at a time, between each toe. Move from one toe in between the two to the next one. And you're looking as well. You're not just feeling, we are looking to see if there's any abnormal things going on there. Okay. Okay.
Right, so. What are we looking between the toes for? Cracks. Okay,
That also when you look at also feel. If you can't feel engines, you know there's something wrong down there.
another thing that we have to look at, checking the feet for is heat. May suggest there's some infection going on somewhere. Heat, so if your foot feels, yes, the back of your hand. The back of your hand, you're checking the feet, and you know how to check the top, right? So we're gonna go right around like this. We're gonna go right around. See if there's any heat. Okay? And we're doing that on both feet. Okay? Right. Right, so we're checking these feet to see if there are any changes, but you wouldn't know if there are changes unless you know your feet. You have to get to know your feet, what they normally look like. All right, so that in another day or two, if something unusual is happening, you will notice. Okay. Right, so when you find, or if you should find something unusual, something abnormal, it doesn't look right, what do you do with that information? What do you do with that? You're going to go to the doctor. Okay. So I'm suggesting that you write it down. You write it down. I always encourage my patients to write things down, because by the time you get to the doctor, you forget what you want to ask. So write it down. I tell them to keep a notebook. Okay? Keep a notebook and write down these things, including the blood sugar. Okay? Any questions at this point? Blood pressure. Your blood sugar?
I don't know about that. I will take a session or something, and then the doctor and the after the time, and she asked me, said she don't come home when she was tired, and she could have me. So I explained to her, holiday food, and she told me that I would need a drink.
Okay.
I'm standing, I would have to go and get people like.
To rehydrate.
Yeah.
Yes, that is not a good thing when you're living with diabetes. You must avoid becoming dehydrated. Okay, so if we can quickly go back to the top, what's the first thing we are going to do? When we are going to take care of our feet at home, what is the first thing you're going to do? Is that the first thing you're going to do? What was the very first thing I asked you all kindly to do? Take off your shoes and your socks. Okay. Can't check your feet with socks on. Okay. And the next thing would be to wash in warm water, not hot water coming from the kettle, not the hot water coming from the shower either. That can be very hot sometimes. How are you going to test the? Eric has a question for y'all.
I'm going to test your water. So suppose your hands getting numb.
If your fingers are numb, you can't feel. So normal. Okay. So if you wanted to check that the water is okay for you to put your foot in. Really?
Your feet are numb, and also your finger. So how will you test your water? Test with the elbow.
Test with the elbow.
Yes, you are with your elbow.
Okay, that's standard. All right, you use your elbow.
Your feet, test your elbow.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So what's the next thing we're gonna do? We've washed the feet thoroughly, dry them thoroughly. Okay. All right. Next thing we're gonna do. Remember, we're gonna be checking both feet. All right. Doesn't make sense checking one and not the other. Both feet. Okay. And you're checking the whole foot. So when we're checking the whole foot, what did we say we're gonna do? We're gonna check the top, check the top, all around the sides. Show me so that I know you know. All around the sides. Take your time and do this. This is not a race. Take your time and go around the foot, okay? And we're gonna check what else? Wait, hold on a minute. We're checking the top and the sides. Something is missing, that you don't have anything else on your foot. The soles, that's very important. That's where the tacks and the staples go, right? And the nails. So top of the foot, the sides, and the soles. And then we're gonna check what? Between the toes. Let me see the people checking between the toes, in between each groove. Yes. Take your time and look. Take your time and look. You're looking, you're feeling. Okay. Okay. In between the toes, ma'am. In between the toes. In between the toes, and you're looking to see if there's any abnormalities there. Okay. All right. Right. And then when we find, if we should find something abnormal, we're going to write it down and tell it to the podiatrist or your doctor or your diabetes nurse. All right. What about it? And the last thing, the last thing is to check for heat or warmth. If the foot is unusually warm. All right. Okay. All right. And we're going to write down. We're checking for any lumps and bumps, for heat and abnormalities. Okay. Any questions? Any other questions? Now, when you find these abnormal things, what would make you go to the doctor? Just want to really finish off this by giving you all some more tips. Yeah. What would make you go to the doctor or the podiatrist? If you find a crack or swelling, what else? A puncture, a nail, a tack. Okay. Any change in color? I did not, I think I failed there. I did not mention color. If you see different color on your foot, okay, that is something to keep an eye out for. We talk about warmth or heat. Color, if it's discoloration that wasn't there before, okay, discoloration. Loss of ability to feel. When you touch your foot to do the check, if you can't feel your hand touching your foot, that's something to report. Loss of sensation. If you have ingrowing toenails or any ulcers or blisters, bruises, unusual swellings, cuts, like I said earlier. Sometimes you get an infection between the toes, looks white. There may be a fungus there, or you may not be sure. So it's unusual, you will report it to your doctor. Sometimes
right? And it was certainly real bad. And they went and get a okay and totally saying I'm going to cut my took my toe and it ended up at the hospital and then they had like surgery and get these cuttings and all that there.
Okay. Okay. And also if you notice a difference in the shape of your foot, okay? Some persons may not have gone to the doctor for a long time, but when you do look at those feet and there's a change in the shape, that is also an opportunity for you to go and seek medical help. All right. I think my colleague wanted to say something.
No, I have a mirror in my hand. Yeah. Yes, I have a mirror in my hand. And this mirror is not only to look at my face. What do you think the mirror is for in terms of your feet? Yeah. So how do you have the mirror and to look at your feet? How do you? Yeah. So if you have even have a family friend at home, they also to check your feet also. But the mirror to check your feet, you just put the mirror on the ground And if you can see this, the reflection on your bottom, your foot is sole, it was a see what down there. Okay.
Just reiterating that, if you're not able to see your feet properly without the mirror, get the mirror, use the mirror on the ground, or get someone in the house or a friend to help you to take a look at your feet. All right. So thank you all very much. If there are no more questions, thank you all very much. And I hope that you will be practicing foot care every day. It's daily. All right.
Thank you.
Ian, I can go. Ian. Ian, I could go, I could speak. Okay, so those of you who have joined us online, we have just concluded our examination of the feet. A number of persons who were here present in the room actually went through the session with us, where they would have examined their own feet and appreciated what they need to do on a daily basis. This is something that we definitely are going to repeat at some point in time in the future. So look out for that information from us. So thank you for everyone who attended this afternoon. It was a highly productive meeting, really quite educational. And please take care of yourself. Take care. Have a good evening.